Charging anxiety is something we can all relate to. In fact, when it comes to our phones, most of us have experienced low battery anxiety. Fast-growing startup Brick is tackling this everyday problem by making sure you can charge your phone no matter where you are, and you can do it on the go. CityQ is solving a different challenge, making our cities more livable by decongesting roads. But riding a regular bike or scooter isn't always viable. We often need to transport kids, equipment, or other things, and the weather doesn't always cooperate. CityQ's answer is Mini Mobility, a covered electric cargo bike that protects you from the elements while also giving you the access and flexibility subscription models bring. Please welcome to the stage Emil Esselin, the CEO of Brick, and Morten Riening, CEO of CityQ.
Morten, and as you see, I'm only bringing Morten today. And after having spoken about digital health, unfortunately, Emil, the other participant, he got sick. COVID is obviously still a part of society, so he tested positive this morning. And we're very sorry about that, but I'm very glad to have you, Morten, here together with me today.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, you're more than welcome. Now, I know that you at CityQ, you are handing out not only connected cargo bikes, it's some kind of a new electric transportation model, also based on new technology. Can you tell me a little bit more about your product?
Yes, thank you. I mean, as you can see from the video, it's not looking like a bike. It's looking of a combination of a car and a bike, and we're basically talking about downsizing cars into bikes to solve some of the issues that makes us not cycle as much as we should be doing. And part of that is technology, obviously. So in the same way that electric cars become high-tech with electric vehicles, we're doing the same with a bike, meaning not only electric motor, but the whole drivetrain is software-based. So we take away chain, and we've been able to put connectivity into so we can control it, but that's part of what the whole concept is about.
Yeah, and I know one other thing behind this is access over ownership, what we call sharing economy. So can you describe a little bit more about the subscription model that you are having with your cargo bikes?
Yeah, actually, we're not talking about subscription in itself, but flexible ownership. So it could be buy, could be rent, or subscribe, or sharing, or leasing. But the whole part is you need flexibility, and for that you need IoT, you need connectivity to it, so you can control it remotely, so you can track it, you can remotely shut it down. And in some of the part, it's important of total cost of ownership, which means you should be able to maintain it, not only a fleet, but a vehicle itself. And we're talking about the future of OTA, where we remotely manage, diagnose, repair, and even upgrade it. So we can actually change as a vehicle just based on software.
You know, I told you behind the stage that I'm a cultural anthropologist and I look at behavior changes. And one of the things that interests me the most is the sustainability question and sustainable development in the future and how that works. And when you're talking about these subscription models and sharing products, access to products, and this is what we can call the part of the sharing economy or circular economy, you call it. So how does that affect the sustainable development of, say, a city or a society?
Yeah, or the vehicle itself. Because if you looked upon what's happened like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you had a Chinese bike sharing coming in and swamping Europe. Very low quality. It was supposed to be sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. It was just a hell of a crap.
And we needed to build new ones.
Exactly. And the same happened with e-scooters coming along. It would B2C that was being used for rental. Didn't last very long. We talked like 60 to 90 days. That's not sustainable. Then you have, in the way that sharing is working, sharing can be fantastic, but you have a cost of balancing, moving it around. And sometimes when done wrong, balancing costs sustainability is actually bringing a lorry to bring more kilometer drove by a van than by sustainable transport. So IoT and IT of this one is partly about understanding how to keep it optimized, but also building quality and finding the right model fitting for it.
Oh, I love that, when it's also assisting in keeping high quality in the product.
Exactly. You want it to last, and that's part of what we're looking at. How can the circular economy make that you not sell it, people don't take care of it, and then you have to throw it away later, but how can you put in a maintenance program to make it last longer? Good for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit curious, since one of the most important questions for the future is how mobility will look in the future. Will we own a car in the future when we have these kinds of solutions, would you say?
Yeah, will you? I mean, old people like me partly think that you should own it, and then you have young people that don't care. And it's quite a challenge for the automotive industry that the whole branding thing is disappearing, because the ownership part isn't as natural. But the other thing is the cities. If you make it impossible to park in inner cities, it's really a hurdle to bring a car into the city. So you're looking for alternatives. And part of the sharing option is like you don't need to care about it. But the other is like you have flexible mobility services. You don't bring a 2-ton cars into a city looking for a parking spot. You're spending a lot of the time in a city just looking for a car parking.
Yeah,
Cities take away the car parking and you don't allow it in there. You have to look for a different mode of transport. And that's, I think, we're going to see the big disruptiveness in urban mobility. You have to do differently when you travel in inner city, whereas going from city to city.
Yeah. And you know, even McKinsey, I saw a report that they had some time ago where they spoke about e-mobility and calling it the next big thing. So what are your thoughts on the growth of the e-mobility, and what will it look like in the future?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be innovating. I mean, if you look upon the speed of innovation in vehicles, that's been very slow for so much time. Now, speed in innovation on vehicles becoming quite fantastic. So both ownership as well as the vehicle itself is being so much more creative. It's way ahead of city planners. It's way ahead of legislation, but it's bringing in new fun ways and modes of freedom in urban mobility, and that's going to be huge. McKinsey talking about a market for mini mobility between micromobility and cars of $100 billion by 2030.
Oh,
that's huge. And I have to say, we're really pleased that McKinsey, when looking for this hotspot, defined CityQ as a good example of the new part, and actually using CityQ as an illustration of the new mini mobility. So we're awesome. Glad for that.
So scaling up will be no problem then
Exactly.
for your business.
It's just making them.
Yeah. And also, being a cultural anthropologist, I have one question for you that's a bit personal, because all of the IoT and the technology behind it, was it any problems, you know, with the behavioral changes? We're used to having our own, owning our products, owning our gadgets, owning our cars. Is that something is that a hurdle, or is...
Well, it could be. I think you can't go ahead of it. I think we're testing subscription in cars, which testing it in the micromobility, and it's definitely a process to learn about it. But what we're seeing is changes is coming quicker in perception about consumers and users than it actually is for the politician and legislation. So the hurdles is more about how infrastructure and legislation coming than consumer behavior. They're moving quite quickly, and you can see from COVID how quickly it changed.
True.
That totally changed the way we looked upon service delivery, as well as how we looked upon how to use a bike. And all of a sudden, we're not allowed to use public transportation. That was a dramatic change, and we adapted quickly.
That's very true. I know that we have an audience, both live and digitally, that have numerous questions for you, Morten. So I'm handing over to our splendid digital hosts.
Are you ready? Well, one question here is that connected cargo bikes really sound cool, but what happens if one breaks down? I mean, they're quite large to just leave. Does IoT in any way help you sort this out, or...?
So yeah, I guess, I mean, I was an early adopter of using Tesla. It was fantastic when you can just calling the service support and they could fix it. The more it is software-based drivetrain, the more you can fix it, obviously. But you can have mechanical brake train. It's long way before IoT can fix a broken wheel. So you will still need it. What's interesting is, you know, all the car clubs all around Europe, they're going from being car clubs to mobility clubs. So they're focusing, can they help four-wheeler cargo bikes and others, because they need to fill up their capacity, and they're also seeing that part of their service. So there will be new services as well to help.
Okay. And we have time for one really quick one, and hopefully your answer can be short. But I think it's a really interesting question. Somebody wants to know, how can solutions like CityQ, mini mobility solutions that are connected, how can they become part of a larger smart city ecosystem?
Oh, that was a short one.
Short answer.
I think that the ecosystem is going to be a cooperation between private initiative and municipalities. If municipality is not helping, it won't work. But municipality is starting to look into this one, and the solution to it is more complicated than answering here.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm very interested in this as well. I have one more question as well, because I'm interested in thefts. How do you see that? Is there something that you look into, or what's going on with?
That's a good question, and we've been worrying about it, and there's no one simple answer, but IoT helps. If you do tracking, that's good. You can actually know where it is afterwards.
Okay.
Tracking and remotely shutting down is even better. So you steal it, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Well, Morten, I'm looking forward to see how this will work in the future, and how CityQ will scale up, that's for sure. One final question from me then. You know, I'm a mother, and I've got a dog, and I realized that using IoT, we can track behavioral changes and identify new ways of using the bikes and so forth. Can I put my dog in and a kid in this cargo bike too?
First of all, it's a platform, so we'll make different type of vehicles. Secondly, of course, you should bring your dog into it. We'd love to see all the creativity. We're going to make some videos of that ability. But I would like also to finally say, we should have the bike here today. It's not here. It's going to be here in April, and we would love to do a demo here then.
Perfect. A warm applause for Morten and CityQ.